This MFL Marmac Coach Conversation brought to you by Birdnow Chevrolet, Meyer Auto Service, and Havlicek Trucking. Dan Anderson, head coach of the Bulldogs, joining us, and was another tough opponent last week. But looking at the stat sheet, 5 turnovers, -5 in the give take. Off most times, you're not going to be as close as you were to winning a football game. Even with that, is that topic number one that you take away from last Friday night's game against Osage?
Yeah, that's exactly what we talked about with our guys, with our assistant coaches. My assistant coaches, we talked about that you're going against a good opponent like Osage, and typically, if you have your -5 in the turnover margin, you're going to lose by multiple touchdowns. But our guys, we outgained them by 140 yards, so it's kind of frustrating. A lot of teams will say that we beat ourselves, but I mean the stats show it. We beat ourselves. I mean we outgained them. Wyatt Powell had a great game. Had 234 yards rushing and 3 touchdowns. Defensively, we played all right. We had some, mistakes here and there. Gave them a short field. Obviously, we turned the ball over 5 times. I think all 5 of them were on our own territory. So it gave Osage a short field, and they capitalized on it. That's what good teams do. They threw the ball well. I mean, the quarterback was under 50% passing, but he had a pretty good night. Some of that was on him, and some of that was us. We had one blown coverage, and the other ones were just good plays on their part. But can't fault the kids' effort. They played hard, but we just made too many mental mistakes. You can't. We had a 3rd and 32. There's not too many plays on the sheet that are good for 3rd and 32 when there's a minute and a half left and you have to go 80 yards. So that was because of a penalty. We had a chop block, and you can't do that. And so, that kind of put us in a tough situation. Zach, I thought, did a good job at quarterback for us, had 2 interceptions, but both were in the second half. And, that's not really our style, is trying to play catch up. And we were down, but the kids fought. We fell down 14-0 right away, and they battled back, and we were within 1 score there in the 4th quarter. So just came up a little short and too many mistakes.
And where's the line between being frustrated, knowing the fact that even with all your mistakes, you were that close to a pretty good football team, but at the same time, you take away those correctable mistakes, you can do some really nice things. Where's that happy medium as you approach this week?
Right. Well, yeah, you can look at it 2 ways. I guess you can look at, you can half empty, half full glass. It was non-district football, so those games don't affect our playoffs. Obviously, we want to win every football game. Everybody does. We played the 2 teams we lost to were both bigger schools that were ranked, and we outgained both of them in total yardage. We had, I think, we were -7 or -8 total in turnover margin between those 2 teams, and yet we only lost by 3 points in one game and 6 in the other. So I guess what I say to our guys is, if you guys, get out of your own way, you guys could be one of the best football teams MFL Marmac has ever had. And they know that. We just, I got to figure out why exactly we're having this many mistakes. And, we're into week 3 now, we're going into week 4. We're in a district play now. These games really mean something now. These are the ones that really do count. If we're going to make it to the playoffs and make a deep run, and this football team is good enough to make a deep run. I believe our football team is good enough to win our district. And we've lost to 2 really good football teams in close games with lots of mistakes and turnovers. And so, we got to figure those things out. We got to do more ball security things. Mental mistakes, you just can't have those. I mean, and it's not like we have a bunch of young guys that have never played there before. These guys, we need to crack down on discipline, obviously, and make sure that this doesn't happen again.
How do you go about correcting turning the ball over?
Yeah, well, you do ball security and drills a lot. The turnovers that we had on Friday night, first half, there were 3 fumbles. One was there's no instant replay in high school football. I completely disagreed. I mean, obviously, I'm the coach, and you're going to disagree with some calls, but I really felt like our guy was down, and then they punched the ball and it came out. But there's no instant replay. Nothing I can do about that. The second one on the next drive was a bad snap between quarterback and center exchange. First one of those we've had in years, and we fumbled it, the snap, and they recovered that, gave them a short field. And then the third one was a missed blocking assignment. I can't all pin that all on a running back. They missed a blocking assignment up front, and the running back was getting hit as he was taking the handoff, and the ball popped out. So, we got to, emphasize the importance of hanging on the football. That football is not just their football. That football is MFL Marmac. That football is our community that cares about football and wants to see good football. And those guys got to understand that, that is the lifeline. That is everything to us. And I think they know that, but that has to be emphasized. And obviously, we just have to do more ball drills where we're stripping, punching at that ball, and those kinds of things. And then I don't know what else you can do besides those kinds of things. And sometimes the balls just don't bounce your way. Things just sometimes it's just one of those freak things and you don't understand how it happened. And we've had too many of those early in the season. And obviously, we hope that stops soon.
On the positive side, 315 yards on the ground. You mentioned Wyatt's a good night with 234 and 3 scores. That obviously means your offensive line was getting it done against a pretty good team, as we talked about earlier. How has the running game offensive line combination, how have they progressed here through non-district play?
Good. I mean, we block well. We just have, a few mental mistakes. We have a couple of great plays. And then we have, and a lot of times it's not not physically getting dominated. It's just maybe the defense shifts or they blitz and somebody misses an assignment. And, then we maybe have a negative play or something like that. So I've been really happy with our offensive line. I think we've got 840 yards of total rushing yards in 3 games, and 2 of those against good ranked 2A opponents. So, we're moving the ball. We're getting first downs. We're scoring touchdowns. We just come out a little short in a couple of these games. So I'm not real concerned, Darren, that, the wheels haven't fallen off the bus. We're all a little frustrated because we know that we could be 3-0 right now. And that's a frustrating feeling, but there's been against good competition. And you know what? We signed up for this. We signed up for wanting a tough schedule against good competition, and we got it. We got good, New Hampton and Osage are really good football schools that are bigger schools. And we knew they would be tough games. Both those schools have almost everybody back from last year's teams that won district titles in 2A. So we knew we were going against a good opponent. But we're good enough to beat those schools. We are, if we don't make the mistakes. And it proved in the stat line, we outgained both those teams.
And your special teams last week had a very good week. 2 punts taken back for a score and a kickoff return for a score. Do you expect teams to maybe start kicking away from some of your guys?
Oh, probably. And they did that last year a lot to us too. We've seen with Waterloo Columbus, they've got a good kicker and he's good at putting the ball where he wants to put the ball. So obviously, we've got some, plans to make sure that, we get the ball in the right guy's hands this Friday night. We've got great kick returners back there, but again, a lot of that has to do with guys that are blocking, that care, and they understand the importance of their role. They're not going to be in the stat sheet for throwing a good block, but that's what springs us for that touchdown. And they know the importance of that, and they work hard. And sometimes some of those guys that are sophomores and juniors that don't play a lot on offense and defense, that's their opportunity to shine. And we make sure, obviously, when we're talking about this, I give those guys credit because it's not all about the returners. A lot of times it's those guys up front that are throwing those blocks on kickoff return and punt return that make those plays go.
And what do you expect out of the Sailors in your district opener this week?
They're a really good football program down there too. They're good. Last year they were runner up in our district. They have most of their linemen back. They're big, physical up front. Their offensive line is 240, 260, 245, and 240. And that's pretty good for 1A football, to have that many guys. And they're big kids too. They're tall, 6'3", 6'2", 6'4" across there. And a lot of those guys are returning starters. 4 out of the 5 are returning starters there. Got a different quarterback, got a different running back, a couple different receivers in there. But this year they definitely want to pound the ball at you when they've got a 215-pound fullback and all those big linemen up there. They want to try to soften you up a little bit. So, we're going to have to make sure we're physical, we're running to the football and hang on to the ball and not make the mental mistakes. We believe we're good enough to beat these guys, and we've proven it with our, we've won everything, all the stats. We've won pretty much everything except for the scoreboard on 2 of our games. And so our guys haven't lost confidence, and neither have I. It's just we can't continue to play good football teams and expect to have those mistakes and beat them. So we've got a good opponent come to town. We're playing at home, and our guys have proven we've only lost 1 football game in 4 years on our home field, and that was a 1-point game. I don't remember off the top of my head. Wapsie Valley. There it is. Wapsie Valley. I think 3 years ago we lost 1 game by 1 point. And so our guys always come ready to play on our field. Obviously, these guys beat us last year by 2. Okay, we didn't play a very good first half last year when we played Waterloo Columbus. They were up 14-0 at halftime. We came back, scored 14, or actually they're up 13-0. We came back, scored 14. They kicked the field goal to win it. beat us 16-14. So our kids want a little revenge. It's on our home field. They know the importance of this football game. Our community, is behind us. We appreciate their support. They travel well, and we expect a big crowd this Friday night. And our kids clean things up, and we expect to be 1-0 and at the end of this week.
All right, Coach, hopefully you can be kinder to yourselves this week on the mistakes end of things. Keep your kids healthy. We wish you best of luck, and hopefully you can get back on the winning track Friday night.
All right. Thanks, Darren.
Dan Anderson, head coach of the MFL Marmac Bulldogs. It's brought to you by Birdnow Chevrolet, Meyer Auto Service, and Havlicek Trucking.